Hi, how you doing? Before I get into this video, you've probably noticed that I've made a few videos recently about boxing with very negative titles. I want to make it clear that I love boxing. I think it's a highly skilled art, I love to watch it, and I love to do it. Obviously, my love of boxing tends to veer towards the older stuff, and if you've followed this channel for any length of time, you'll know that the early era and Broughton's Rules era are without a doubt my favourite. The older the better, really. But I love it all. However, boxing sucks, and I'm going to tell you why. You probably expect me to bang on about the lack of grappling, the constraints created by the gloves, or even the unrealistic striking ability provided by hand wraps, but I'm not going to do that. I don't mind all of that stuff. As long as we're honest about what it is and how it changes the game, then I'm good with it. You might be thinking I'm going to talk about the issues around weight cutting and rehydration and how they lead to an increase in traumatic brain injuries. But I'm not going to talk about that in this video either. I may well come back to that one, but not right now. But there's one thing that's always been there, and it's always been a negative force in boxing from the very start. And I think that now, more than ever before, it's killing the art we love. And that's money. I think we can all agree that Floyd Mayweather is a brilliant boxer. His record's indisputably fantastic. We might not all agree that his style of fighting's entertaining to watch, but his adjusted career earnings are estimated to be well over $1 billion. There's a lot of money in boxing. A lot of money. And a sport that can so handsomely reward a man with repeated convictions for domestic violence needs to ask itself some pretty serious questions. But this video isn't really about Mayweather, despite the fact that he's complicit in the problem. It's about Jake Paul. Jake Paul! We're not going to talk about what a terrible role model he is. We'll ignore the sexual assault charges. We'll ignore the inadvertent illegal activity. We'll ignore the fact that he will do literally anything to boost his views. And we'll just focus on his boxing. A lot of people have come out saying that the increase in awareness he's bringing to boxing is a good thing, that he's introducing a whole new generation to the sweet science. I think this is dangerously short-sighted. He's supposedly a professional boxer with a record of 6 wins and no losses. We can discount the first 2 fights. If he isn't a boxer, and he isn't, then another YouTuber and a basketball player aren't boxers either. Ben Askren, on the other hand, well, he's not really a boxer either, is he? A brilliant wrestler, but unlike a lot of wrestlers, he never really made the transition to MMA as well as we all hoped he would. Striking just wasn't his thing. He was giving up 3 inches in height to Paul, and much more importantly, 13 years in age. Tyrone Woodley was even older and smaller. And Anderson Silva, who was at least a similar size to Paul, was 22 years older than him. So he's a supposedly professional boxer who chooses to fight retired athletes significantly older than him who've never competed in boxing. Why? Why does he do it? If he wants to be a boxer, why not just be a boxer? Well, for 2 reasons. The first, and the most obvious, is for the money. He's estimated to have pulled in somewhere in the region of $50 million directly from boxing. The second reason, and slightly less obvious, well, is also the money, but in a different way. You need to remember that what Jake Paul is a brilliant self-publicist. He's built an enormous following of people over the years, people who buy into his narrative of being a boxer, people who don't understand that fighting aging athletes from other sports in a boxing ring doesn't actually make you a boxer. In effect, by switching the focus of his income from social media platforms that he can't control to boxing purses and pay-per-view that he can, he's effectively secured his earning potential for the future. But Oz, I hear you say, why is this a problem? Surely it's okay for boxers to earn money from boxing. Well, yeah, it really is. I'm all for boxers making money from what they do. I love that boxing is still one of the few things in life where a poor kid from a deprived area can still rise to the top and make millions. They can change their life and the lives of the people around them. It takes a huge amount of commitment and dedication to make it to the top in boxing. to the point where you actually earn more money than if you'd just got a job in the local supermarket. And I think that kind of dedication should be rewarded. But that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about a kid learning his trade in the amateur rings, eventually turning professional and slowly rising through the ranks to compete in the biggest arenas in the world. What we're talking about is a freak show. We're talking about taking people who are not boxers and putting them in the ring pretending that they are. We're talking about contractual mismatches that can only have one outcome that both parties agree to because they know the money's so good. We're talking about downgrading skill and ability in favour of creating an engaging story that people who never really appreciated the skill in the first place are drawn to. We're talking about doing to boxing exactly the same thing that was done to wrestling years ago. The outcome isn't going to be that we'll somehow have attracted a bigger audience to boxing and it will have revitalised and grown the sport. The outcome is going to be that for most people at least, boxing will be larger-than-life personalities that have never really trained in actual boxing, performing a spectacular show that can only follow a preordained path. The future of boxers isn't more fighters like Ali, Calzaghe, Fury, Hatton. It's fighters like CM Punk, the Shockmaster, and Kendo Nagasaki. If the way to earn the best money from boxing is not to be the best boxer, but to put on the most entertaining show, to be the most well-known personality, to be the most controversial and memorable, we aren't going to see another Iron Mike, another Roberto Duran, another George Foreman, but we'll more than likely see another Brutus the Barber Beefcake. So over to you. Do you agree? Is Jake Paul the worst thing to happen to boxing? Are we on an inevitable spiral into the death of a beautiful combat sport? Or have I missed the point entirely? Stick something in the comments. I'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts. And if you've enjoyed this slightly ranty video, then there's a chance you'll like some of my older videos, and the videos I'm going to be making in the future. If that's the case, I hope you'll consider subscribing. If you want to support the channel directly, you can either hit the thanks button under the video or sign up as a supporter over at patreon.com/EnglishMartialArts. To the real fight team who have made it this far in, I'm looking to get some new t-shirts made, but I'm not really a graphic designer. If you can knock up a nice image and fancy helping me out with a proper fight team shirt, let me know. Fight team!